Welcome back to more The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Last time we reunited Andrew and Cafe. This time, we're going to play the Oath to Order and finally stop Skull Kid. It stopped. We did it! It stopped! Sis! Tail! Good, we made it in time. The Giant's Call worked on the Skull Kid. Hey Skull Kid, do you realize what you've been doing to everyone? Wait, sis, don't! Don't be so hard on the Skull Kid. Tail, why are you protecting him? Are you mad at him for hitting you so much? He was lonely, the Skull Kid. He was trying to destroy everything around him. That is not the same as a lonely child. We can't allow that. The power of the mask made him do it. It was too much for the Skull Kid to handle. It's cause he doesn't know his place. On top of having a weak will and no strength of heart, he's a fool. Certainly, he had far too many weaknesses to use my power. Yeah, that's right, admit your stupidity. Huh? A puppet that can no longer be used is mere garbage. This puppet's role has just ended. It can't be! That moon? I shall consume everything. Wow, this isn't good. Let's go back. Let's go back. Hurry, the Song of Time. The Song of Time. Ah, no, you've got to be kidding me. Don't tell me you're going up there. I won't do it. You go by yourself. I'm staying here with Tail. I'll go. What? What are you saying, Tail? Is something wrong with you? I don't always want to be running away. If only I'd been stronger, the Skull Kid wouldn't have. I understand. I'll go. After all this time, Tail, you've gotten really stubborn, just like someone else I know. You know, you guys are really stupid. After everything, we are now inside of the moon. It is surprisingly peaceful here given the calamity the moon is causing outside, but we want to make our way over to this giant tree, and as we get closer, we'll be able to spot several children playing around the tree. Each one is wearing one of the boss's remains, and if we talk to them, we can actually go to various side areas where we can find a heart piece in each, and also, if we complete all of these areas, we'll get the final mask. The final mask completely trivializes the final boss, so because we're not collecting heart pieces, and we won't be using this mask anyway, we are not going to tackle these areas for now, and instead we're going to talk to the child sitting under the tree. Will you play with me? You have only weak masks. So, you'll play? Well? Shall we go? All that's left is to fight Majora's Mask itself. For this fight, I want to equip the bow, and the blast mask. So it can attack by trying to swoop down at us, and when it does so, we can use the blast mask to knock it down. So let's give this a try. There are a couple of other ways to stagger it as well. After dealing enough damage, the boss remains will also start to attack you. I recommend taking them out first. At this point, Majora's Mask can also use a beam attack. We can actually deflect that with the Mirror Shield, but first of all, let's actually focus on the mask. They take about 3 arrows each, so they're not overly difficult to take out, thankfully. But can be really annoying if you're trying to fight the boss without taking them out. In addition to using the blast mask like we did earlier, another way to actually stagger the mask is to use the Zora Boomerang to actually attack it from behind. Alternatively, if it happens to be facing away from you, you can also use arrows to stun it. Overall, this isn't a particularly difficult fight, we just have to deflect the laser a few more times. I think we have to do this about 1 or 2 more times, unless it tries to swoop down, in which case we'll counter. So yeah, probably 1 more time. Phase 2 is Majora's Incarnation. It'll run around the room, and we can use arrows to knock it off balance. And we can attack it like so. That was actually really good. It can attack with energy blasts, but for the most part, it just kind of runs around trying to avoid attacks. This isn't overly dangerous, but we definitely need to be careful still. And finally, we have Majora's Wrath. For this fight, we'll swap over to light arrows. I think we won't need the Chateau Romani, we have plenty of magic for this. We can stun it with light arrows, but we have to time it carefully around its whip attacks. We can block the whips, thankfully, so it's not overly scary. Once again, we have to use like jump slashes and spin attacks to deal a lot of damage quickly, like with Majora's Incarnation. Overall, this isn't too difficult either, but definitely be aware to block everything. It can sometimes pick you up and slam you to the ground also, so be careful, especially in a 3-heart run like so. Wow, I didn't know this actually was a place you could stand, actually. I also didn't realize that could go through your shield, so be careful about that. Yeah, for our final boss, it's actually surprisingly straightforward, but we definitely still want to be a little bit careful. We should be getting pretty close. When you see the spinning top, that's usually a sign that you're at the end. That was very unfortunate. Ah, he's awake! You guys, you hadn't forgotten about me? You still thought of me as a friend? Did you? Did you save me? I thought they didn't want to be friends with me. But they hadn't forgotten about me. Friends are a nice thing to have. Could you be my friend too? You have the same smell as the fairy kid who taught me that song in the woods. I know, let's do something. Oh, so the evil has left the mask after all. Well now, I finally have it back. Since I am in the midst of my travels, I must bid you farewell. Shouldn't you be returning home as well? Whenever there is a meeting, a parting is sure to follow. However, that parting need not last forever. Whether a parting be forever or merely a short time, that is up to you. With that, please excuse me. But my, you sure have managed to make quite a number of people happy. The masks you have are filled with happiness. This is truly a good happiness. Well, both of us have gotten what we were after, so this is where you and I part ways, isn't it? You know, it was kind of fun. Well, it's almost time for the carnival to begin. So, why don't you just leave and go about your business? The rest of us have a carnival to go to. Link! Thank you. And with that, we have reached the end of Majora's Mask. Sort of. We still have quite a few things to take care of. But for now, I really love this game. This is one of my favorite Zelda games, and one of my favorite games of all time. Thematically, I really like it. I like the characters a lot. Even a lot of the side characters get so much development through their side quests. I find it really impressive. The gameplay is superb. I like how it builds upon a lot of the design elements of Ocarina of Time in a way that kind of ramps up the difficulty a lot more. But sometimes it does get a little bit overwhelming, specifically around the midway point of the game. Again, I find that Goat and Georg are the fights I have the most trouble with, and that Great Bay is the temple I have the most trouble with, which is kind of odd because I actually find the Ikana region onwards to be a lot more straightforward. And then the final boss itself is a little bit anticlimactic, I feel. This is actually the one fight that was not changed in the 3DS version, in terms of major bosses. It's the same fight in that version. Speaking of which, that's another problem I do have with Majora's Mask, is there is no definitive version, because this version obviously has worse graphics, runs at 20 FPS instead of 30, and also is lacking quality of life improvements that the 3DS version added, but then the 3DS version also made so many changes that are very polarizing, like certain boss fights being a lot more unwieldy, in my opinion. So yeah, that is one downside of Majora's Mask, is I really wish there was like a definitive version that, similar to Ocarina of Time 3D, which didn't change as much but added quality of life improvements. But overall, that being said, I still like both versions for different reasons. In general, I don't know if I can pick a favorite version, to be honest, because, again, both have pros and cons, but in general, I just wish more people could experience Majora's Mask. I get that it's very daunting because of the time limit, the darker tone, but those elements are actually things I enjoy. So those cutscenes were showing Transformation Mask outcomes. Every other mask from here on out is optional, so this is for the Postman's hat. Otherwise, certain scenes will just be like blank screens, and they'll show the mask or hat in question rotating to indicate which mask ties into which scene. So like this is for the Kamaro's mask. This will make sense when we start going after the heart pieces, but I really like getting to see what all the characters are up to, all the people we helped along the way, and even though we didn't help everyone within the cycle, by stopping the moon in Majora's Mask, it automatically will default to the best possible outcome for every cycle. So for example, Crimea and Romani, I do really like this game. Again, its darker tone is definitely something that is maybe less approachable than other Zelda games, but that is one of the things that gives this game a lot of heart, in my opinion. Again, because of the overlying themes of, like, the end of the world, basically, and trying to face it, essentially, and how different characters find different ways to face the end of the world. I find it very poignant, and that's what makes it so special. In terms of gameplay, it's still very good. Like, if you like 3D Zelda games, it's good in that regard too, but I think it is the atmosphere and the storytelling that make this game excel to this level, in my opinion. It's also odd because, as I talked about earlier, this was the last 3D Zelda game I played before Breath of the Wild. I played Wind Waker starting in 2007, then I played Twilight Princess the following year, then Ocarina of Time 3D when I got a 3DS in September 2011, Skyward Sword 2 months later in November 2011, and then Majora's Mask in 2015. I basically went ahead and got through a bunch of the 2D Zelda games in that gap, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, this was one of the last 3D Zelda games I played, and yet it's one of the most special to me. It's sort of odd to have nostalgia for one of the last games chronologically that I played, but that is the case. One interesting tidbit is that cafes a case of a character model that wasn't reused from Ocarina of Time, so there is no adult model for Cafe, so this scene is entirely from the first person, so they didn't have to make another model, which again, this game was made in about a year. It's actually really impressive that a game that has to rely so much on asset reuse has such an original spirit to it. Again, it's incredibly impressive to me that this game was made in a year, and even though it is largely built on pre-existing assets from Ocarina of Time, it is one of the most stylistically unique Zelda games. But with that being said, the credits are winding down. We end on a bit of a bittersweet note as the Deku butler visits his son. But yeah, we're not done yet. We still have quite a few heart pieces and one more mask and even a bottle to find, and we'll start our quest to collect all of the remaining collectibles next time. I have no clue how long this will take because this game has the most heart pieces in the entire series, which again makes it very interesting for a 3-heart run. But in any case, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for more The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask.